y'all, welcome back to Brave Kids Art Club. My name is Brad, and today is an awesome day because we get to draw together yet again, and I'm really excited about that. And today's animal is just undeniably adorable, so it's gonna be a whole lot of fun to draw. What's that? You want a few hints? Okay, I'll give you a few hints. This animal has so much fur. It has actually the densest fur out of any mammal. It likes to carry its babies on its chest when it's floating on its back. Am I giving too many hints here? They like to eat sea urchins and clams. Okay, you got it. We are drawing a sea otter today. Not to be confused with a river otter. We are drawing a sea otter. They are much, much bigger. So let's dive right in and make sure we have everything we need before we get drawing. All right, make sure you have a nice clean sheet of paper, of course. And then we need to have a pencil, nicely sharpened. Make sure you have an eraser with it because we're gonna do some sketching. And then we wanna make sure we erase that under sketch after we draw our outlines with a dark pen or a marker. And then at the very end, we're gonna do some coloring. I'm gonna use this big bag of markers. You can use whatever you want, crayons, colored pencils, paints, and totally up to you. Okay, so let's start our sketch by figuring out where this sea otter's head's gonna be. I'm gonna have my sea otter laying on its back and maybe holding a shell or something on their chest. So let's start with the head. We're gonna kind of move the head up here a little ways. And we're gonna do an oval shape for the head. Maybe a little bit less oval. There we go. We can do it kind of to the top. There's nothing else. It's not like it has big ears or anything. And then we're gonna do just a slight, it's basically going to be a big rectangle here. But I think what we can do is just start off with doing it kind of curved right here, kind of going off the curve that we've already created. We're gonna kind of bring that in. Does that make sense? So you already have a curve coming from here. So if you just followed that down and just made it a little bit wider, that's what we're doing. And then we can make this probably a little bit lower, but we can tackle that later. Okay, we got that. Next, we need to do just a little kind of like a half circle coming out here. Half circle, we're gonna bring it all the way back, kind of like a C shape. We're gonna bring it up here, and then we're going to round it off for the arms. This is what we're drawing, the arms right here. Kind of want it this way. There we go. Does that make sense? We got the arm going on there. So let's do the same thing on the other side. It's gonna be pretty symmetrical, meaning it's gonna be the same on both sides. So I wanna make that C, but I'm gonna do a backwards C this time. It's gonna be a little bit different than the other one just because it's backwards. We're gonna do the hand again, the little paw. There we go. This looks nothing like an otter yet, but it totally will. I promise it'll look like an otter. Okay, so now we have the arms. Let's do maybe a little chunky belly. The main shape of this sea otter is kind of a rectangle. I'll kind of go like that. You can kind of see the rest of the rectangle. So I'm trying to look for major shapes first, and then that'll help me compose it on my page. Compose it just means make sure everything that I want to illustrate is going to fit on the page. So I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of a belly here. Now that I've already done my sketch, I can kind of go work off of that. The main shapes just help you figure out how much mass you have or how much of that part of the animal is there. So you can kind of play around with that. Okay, so we got the little belly. And then we're gonna do these little curves. Let's see. Follow my lead. We're gonna do a curve right here and go right inside. Maybe a little bit too much. Yeah, that was a little too much. There we go. I'm gonna take that little piece off that I didn't mean to put on there. Okay, and we'll do the same thing over here. That might have to go in a little bit. And then we'll go up here, and we'll do another curve. Because what we're doing, this is basically their knee. Because we're gonna have them laying on their back and their little feet sticking straight up. So now let's draw those feet. We're going to do, now you can just draw them as ovals if you want. That's totally fine. You see what I'm doing right here? You can draw them as an oval, and maybe that helps you at first figure out how big the foot's going to be. They kind of have big feet for their body. So let's just do the ovals there then, just to kind of get a sense of where things are going to be. That looks pretty good. But what their feet really look like is they kind of look like a seal's foot. They kind of almost have like a flipper with little claws on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of straighten this out and just kind of make it angle up a little bit, but make it a little bit flat on the tip instead of having that rounded. And then pull that back. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to want to make that just a little bit of an angle, make it a little bit flatter than you had it before. Maybe even the sides a little bit flatter. We can have that kind of come in, taper in. There we go. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now, their feet look kind of weird because they don't look like normal feet. They look more like flippers with little claws on them. But we'll just do tiny little ones right on here. Like this, little bumps. So I just added those lines so I know where to put them. And they actually, you can kind of tell where their different toes are. They spend a ton of time in the water. They're called sea otters. They can actually hold their breath up to 5 minutes underwater. They can stay underwater for so long. And they go under there and hunt and look for food and dig around under the water. And that's why they have these little flippers and they're able to move. If you've ever seen a sea otter swim around or even a river otter swim around, it's crazy looking. Have your parents help you look that up. And or if you've seen them at a zoo, I saw them at a zoo and on a beach, and you can just see them gliding through the water. They're really, really cool. All right, so now we got the feet, the arms, the head. We got to do the tail. But first, let's do this. Let's have the legs connect. We'll do little lines right across here. That way it's connected to the body. And I know what because the tail's not going to really fit in here and they have a little bit bigger tails, I'm going to make mine go to the side. I'm going to make mine kind of curve to the side so I can still fit it in here. And they got kind of a thick tail. They got a pretty thick tail. There we go. So just do a few little curves there. Maybe you need to erase a little bit to make it look a little better, and that's okay. All right, so I'll have that. Maybe it goes in a little bit more. When I outline it with my pen, it'll look a lot better. But cool, I got that. I got the tail on there. Now we gotta do the face because it's not really looking like a sea otter. Now that's kind of one of the differences between the sea otters and the river otters is the sea otters kind of have these really furry faces. So you can really play that up. I'm gonna put the little tiny ears. They got the cutest little ears on the side of their head. So by just doing little half circles right there on the side, right where it kind of meets up with this circle or oval, meets up with that. I'm going to draw tiny little ears. And then let's draw the eyeballs so we kind of have an idea where things are. I'm actually, before I do that, I'm going to make this circle or this oval, I keep calling it a circle, a little bit lower because I want to fit more of the face in there. That makes sense. I want to have more room for the face. So if you need to move that down a little bit, you can do that. Less of an oval, more of a circle. Okay, I think a little bit more. There we go. I'm liking that a lot better. Now I'm making a lot of changes here, and maybe you are too, but I'm making them because I want to make sure that before I put down my pen that everything's in the spot that I want it to be. Okay, so now let's do the nose. The nose first. They actually kind of have a big, pretty obvious nose. And it looks like this. Kind of looks like a triangle. Kind of has a triangle look. I kind of rounded off the top of my triangle. It's a little bit wider. And then I'm going to just do a little, almost, I guess more like a diamond at this point. Like that. There you go. It's a very distinct nose. And I'm going to round that off. There you go. Got a little nose, and you can make it more rounded if you'd like. We'll get there. So let's draw now the eyes over here. Let's give them nice big eyes. There we go. There's one eye. Drawing circles is hard. And there's 2 eyes. Whoa, that eye looks a little bit bigger, so maybe I should make this one bigger or smaller. The other one's smaller. Either way. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Then I'll do the pupil. I'm going to make it looking right at us. Now, because they're extra cute, you want to make that pupil what? Extra big. The middle part of their eye, that black part of your eye, you make it bigger and it looks cuter. But also, if you want it to be looking at you and be kind of cute, make them slightly cross-eyed. Slightly cross-eyed. So you'll move their eyes a little bit closer to the middle, not right in the middle of the whites of their eyes. Okay, so we got the eyeballs on there. Now let's do, there's going to be a little curve right here. We're going to make it for the mouth. So it's going to show the front of their mouth. Here we go. I'm going to go start from the corner of the eye there. Go all the way, you don't have to go all the way down to this circle. Just kind of get close and come up right there to the point of that bottom of the nose. And do the same thing over here. Right there. There we go. And then we'll do just a little U, little letter U right here at the bottom. We can do another one here if we want here. Just to show the little mouth open and cute. Once we put the black in here, it'll look even cuter. Okay, now let's draw the big whiskers on here. They have those whiskers because it helps them find and feel around in the water so they can find food. They're very sensitive and it helps them find food. So we'll draw those big whiskers on there. So what kind of food do they eat? Well, they eat crabs and sea urchins and clams and mussels and all sorts of things. And if you've ever seen one eat, it's really adorable. They lay on their back and they'll put it right here, whatever it is, the mussel or clam or the crab, and they'll lay it on their chest and they'll eat it right off their chest while they're floating on their back. How cute is that? So that's a great segue into our next part right here where we have to draw what our sea otter is eating. What is your sea otter eating? Mine is probably, let's see, I think I'm gonna do like a clam or a mussel or something like that. They're in a shell like that. I'm gonna draw one of those for mine. You could draw maybe a crab. What about a piece of pizza? What if your sea otter likes pizza? That's totally fine. That would actually be pretty funny. So figure out what your sea otter is eating and then draw that right here on their belly. So I'm going to draw, like I said, I'm going to have a shell right here that it's breaking open. And it's really fun to see how they break these open. They don't just lay them on their chest and open them up. They actually are one of the few animals that use tools to open up things. And so they'll actually use rocks and bash it until they open it up. They're pretty smart. Okay, I'm liking the look of that. And then I'll probably do some like lines and things to make sure people know it's a shell. But I'm really curious to see what you guys come up with. I think you guys can come up with some really cool ideas. I'm going to do a couple lines here for the hands. Make sure it's got his little hands on there. It's got his little belly. And this is looking pretty good. Maybe yours has a little bit of hair on the top. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave mine without the hair, but maybe you can add a little something extra to it to make it yours. I think that would be really cool. Maybe I'll add like a few little lines on here to show that it has the fur. But okay, so I think I'm at the point now where I just need to go in and get my Sharpie out and start making my final lines. It's always a little bit freaky because I don't want to make a mistake, but it's okay. If we make mistakes, you can start over, or you can just say that's what you meant to do and then keep going. All right, so let's get started. I am going to start with the sea otter's head. Now, I'm not going to draw a furry head, but you can totally make it look furry and bushy. I might just do that with the color so you know it's a different part of the head. I might do that. But for you, you might want to make their head really, really furry. If you see a picture of them, you'll know what I'm talking about. They got extra furry heads. Okay, here we go. Gonna go all the way around. And there. Then I'm gonna go back under here and go all the way back up to the ears. Gonna meet up right there. Then I'm gonna give him that cute little ear. There we go. All right, now let's do the arms. All the way over here. There we go. Have any of you guys seen a sea otter? They are really, really cool looking. They're really shiny because their fur, when it's wet, it actually, well, it gets dark, but it also is water resistant. That means water kind of bounces off of it and beads up. So when you get like spray water on it, it would just kind of all fall off. And it can make it so it can really go through the water really fast. So that would be really cool power. You'd have lots of fur. They have really, really thick fur. Like I said earlier, they actually have the thickest fur out of any animal. It is so thick. That means there's, I guess I could say it's dense, meaning there's lots of something all together, packed together. And in their case, it's fur. Lots of different pieces of hair all put together to make sure that their coat that they're wearing is super, super dense and make sure that water doesn't come in. But it's not just for the water. It's actually to keep them warm. Because sea otters, they don't really have any, oh, I like that flat. Maybe you can round yours off. I don't know why I did them so flat. But yeah, sorry. Sea otters, they don't really have any blubber like whales and things. It's kind of like their fat. They have blubber that keeps them warm so they can go really deep in the water, because the deeper you go in the water, the colder it gets. And a lot of the water where these sea otters are is really cold. Most of the sea otters are around Alaska. Most of the sea otters in the entire world are actually found in Alaska. So they need to be really, and Alaska's very cold up there. So they need to have a really warm jacket on. And since they don't have the blubber, the fat on them, their fur keeps them nice and cold. Just like a coat, just like we wear coats. Keeps them nice and warm. That would be pretty awesome. All right, now let's do this tail here. All the way up to here. And the tail kind of rounded off on the end. There we go. There we go. Now, maybe you made yours furrier, or maybe you made the waves so you can see that it's laying down in the water. It's kind of funny looking right here. It almost looks like it's jumping on a trampoline. It's kind of bad. So I fitted little lines right here. It would look like it's just flying up in the air with its little feet up, bouncing on a trampoline. But if you wanted to add some water, add some blue or something like that so people know that this is in the water laying on its back, that would be a really cool idea. All right, I'm going to draw that shell now. Let's do that shell. It's a big shell. Ooh, I made a very big one. Just want to make sure everybody knows what it is. There we go. Made it a little bigger than my sketch. Okay, let's go to the eyes. The freakiest part, I don't want to mess this up. All right, so let's try to be really slow. Try to make it look as much like a circle as possible. Let's do that on this side. I tried. Maybe one eye is a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Just makes it unique. Still proud of it. We all draw very differently. Even though you guys are right now, maybe some of you are copying exactly what I'm doing right here, and that's totally fine. You know, that's a great way to learn, is by copying how other people do things and watching how other people do things. That's a great way to learn. But it's cool because every time you do it, even when you were copying this otter right here, you're drawing the exact same otter, and you think you're drawing it the exact same way I am, you're not. You're making it yours because you're the one who drew it. And you can tell by just the way that you make your lines, or just the colors you choose, or the tools you use. And you can always have a little bit of you show up in your work. And that's what makes your work special. I'm gonna color this nose in. I think that's really important to remember. That if you're making it, there's always gonna be a part of you that's gonna be in it. So don't get worried about what other people think about it, because it's you. You don't want to change you. You are just fine. And so the way you do it is awesome. Alrighty, let's do this. I'm going to do my lines. There we go. Make them kind of curved so it looks like they're on a shell that's rounded off. That's not super flat. And then I'm going to add my little fingers here. I haven't thought of a name. Oh, name for my otter. Woo, we're getting really far into this and I haven't figured out a name yet. Oh boy, what should their name be? Oliver. I like the name Oliver. Oliver the otter. I love that name. Okay, we're going to do Oliver. What did you name yours? I am very curious to know. I feel like my hand's getting in the way here. I can't really see where it's ending up. There we go. And the last two whiskers, and we should be ready to erase all of that undersketch and make it look like we just did it with a pen the entire time. That's a lot of things. You'll see a lot of people drawing and they'll have just do the pen. You'll only see them doing the outline. And you don't realize that they've either drawn it before or they just erased the lines underneath it. They don't need to show you that. But I want to show you because I want you to learn how to make any animal you want just by using shapes. Figuring out what the main shapes are and then making it unique to you. So I'm going to sit here, I'm going to go ahead and erase all of this stuff away, and then I'm going to get coloring. So I hope you are happy with where you're at right now. Go grab your coloring tools and get coloring, and we'll catch up right afterwards. I think I'm done with my coloring. Oliver is looking awesome. Now I had to add, you'll notice that I didn't do this before, but I added some little lines here to make it look like it was furry, because sometimes, you know, if you don't make it like a little furry edge on there, it doesn't look very furry. So I wanted to do the fur on there, and so I just did a bunch of little lines, and you can do that too. I just did it with my pen afterwards over top of my color. But I'm really happy with how Oliver turned out. I hope you guys are happy with how yours turned out and you had a good time during this video. Make sure that you always do what after you're done? Yep, you gotta sign your name. Every time we do our art, we always sign our name at the bottom so everybody knows that we did it. We gotta own our own work. So thank you guys so much for drawing along with me today. This is always the highlight of my day. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about sea otters. Have your parents help you look up some videos of them, but I really want to see what you made. I'm sure you guys have some great ideas for what this sea otter is eating. So have your parents post a picture of your artwork on Instagram and just tag us at Brave Kids Art Club. That way I get a chance to see it. And remember, we do these every single week, Monday through Friday. So please subscribe if you enjoy these videos. And if you enjoyed this one, please give it a like. And always remember to be brave, be creative, but most importantly, be you. Alrighty, we'll see you guys next time.